Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World Warships for our Saturday edition video. And today I want to talk about an achievement that has literally almost taken me 5 years to get here in the game. Now, that's mainly due to a few reasons. It was actually last year I noticed that this specific achievement I didn't have, and I was like, oh, I should really work on trying to get said achievement when I have the opportunity to do so. But it's also an achievement to pick up that kind of, it goes against common sense. Like, it's basically doing the opposite of what you should be doing. And how it happens in this battle is complete coincidence, and how it ends up occurring here. So a little bit of a fun thing to just say before I talk more about what is this achievement. This enemy CV, it's an FDR. It's kind of funny that he's wanting to pick on us on this flank, because I'm currently sharing the smoke screen with a friendly Edgar. Now, in terms of tier 10 cruisers, the Golden Lion has the 4th strongest AA rating among all tier 10 cruisers, and currently in the game, Edgar has the best AA among super cruisers, but soon to be replaced in terms of AA strength by the super cruiser, the Jacksonville, which just recently came out via an auction, and then will soon be on the tech tree for a lot cheaper than what it was sold for. So we're going to have some fun with the CV, and we're going to have some unfortunate fun with the submarine in terms of his torpedoes. The ironic thing is that this cruiser is a class of cruisers with the high explosive airstrikes that's meant to kind of combat cruisers, enemy ships sitting bow in behind islands, right? Because that's what this class does in terms of you're within that 13-kilometer radius of this the HE airstrikes. Also, that's what CVs do. They try to get you where you can't just sit on an island. You know, if you're a Des Moines sitting bow in and there's a Nakimal, a Malta, you know, you're screwed. But then the other class that's going to be who gives us this achievement in this battle is the submarines, right? So the Edgar and I have been cycling in between our hydroacoustic searches as we're taking our time here. Have some enemy battleships. We're not in a necessary rush here. But the achievement, which soon should be taking place, is the unsinkable achievement. And this is when you receive damage from flooding that exceeds 40% of your ship's normal hit points, and you also survive the battle. It can be obtained once per battle. So there's the unsinkable achievements. My first time getting this achievement in literally almost 5 years of playing the game. I started playing World Warships in August 31st of 2019. And because of... Ooh, FDR. Watch him eat the flak. Yeah, did I say this is the 4th strongest AA cruiser in the game, and that there's also an Edgar sitting here right in front of us? Anyhow. But the reason why the unsinkable achievement is a bit of... It goes against what is your common sense, right? So you're going to understand, one, why. There's 2 things that cause us to end up getting this achievement. One is to get the unsinkable achievement, as we prevent this Jacksonville from going in behind the island. I wanted to force him out where Edgar or someone else could finish him off. The unsinkable achievement is, you know, if you have your damage control party and you have a flood, I mean, the common core response is if you have your damage control party, you will use that and disable, extinguish the flood that occurs on your ship. Now, the sub launches all of his torps and then he pings us, and so I immediately use a DPCP because I thought maybe I can accelerate in time to avoid most of them, but we don't. But because our action time is so short on the Golden Lion, I'm now taking 2 floods and I have a heal going. And you can see that my health really actually, it's not going up, it's going down despite having the heal going. So we are taking a lot of flood damage in this moment. due to trying to avoid not us taking many torpedoes, because otherwise I think we dodged 2 of the, what was it, 6 torpedoes I think that sub fired at us. And I was like, now let's see if we can't mitigate the damage in that sense, only to be surprised in getting 2 floods here on the Golden Lion. And now, in order to get the unsinkable achievement, I have to live. And I wasn't actually thinking that I took that much flooding damage, and I didn't have the unsinkable achievement in the back of my mind at this moment. As for now, I want to disengage, because you can see the sub is actually still pinging where he thinks I roughly am, as he's very, very hungry to finish me off. As my clanmate, Doombeagle, he's actually going to push in and deal with the sub, since that's an issue for myself and the Edgar player here. So the intention here, in order to, and the fact that this class does not deal with submarines because you have to drive on top of them to use the ship-based ASW. But one of the reasons why I think unsinkable is probably the rarest and hardest achievement to get here in the game, or at least among the hardest, is because it goes against your common sense. You basically, to get this achievement, which I could have purposely farmed like a while ago, but I just wasn't thinking of it, is if you take a flood, you don't DCP the flood. You don't use your damage control party. You're basically inviting floods to happen, inviting floods to take place, and then letting those floods tick for their full duration and causing damage to your ship. And then also having this skill where you're trying to also live at the end of the battle. So that's kind of a few reasons why the unsinkable achievement is this kind of goes against common sense. It's quite difficult to get into the game. But needless to say, in the meantime, we've picked up the AA defense after picking up 35 planes on the enemy FDR. And I'm going to kind of transition more into battle commentary footage at this point in time, because I don't need to keep talking about the unsinkable achievement. Now, what's kind of the ironic thing is that this flank has collapsed, but the FDR is sitting broadside back in enemy spawn here on this flank. If you see your flank collapsing, then as a CV, you want to disengage and go to the other side of the map, because you can actually see that he has, this team is mostly the G line and up, and he's the only one down here beneath the G line. Well, excuse me, except the Cerberus. I think that's back there on the that's now stepping onto the G line from the H line. But the Edgar player is really dishing it out here against the enemy Moskva. I think he ends up having a pretty good game here, where Moskva is quite actually difficult for him as a cruiser player to deal with, despite having smoke and the Moskva radar not being as long as, like, let's say, an American Des Moines radar. But because of that, only able to fire armor piercing. But you can see that he is just launching those shells. So the Edgar player essentially needs help from a friendly here to help him out. So he's got torpedoes on the way. I'm going to see if I can get lucky with an HE airstrike, which we have 17 HE bomb hits already. And also moving up, as we do want to support our battleship, the Yamato here, because of the FDR. Don't necessarily want to leave him out. So anything we can do to get this Moskva player dead and helping the Edgar player live, as he does actually end up killing the Moskva here. And I'm trying to get my turrets turned in time, as Doom is telling me in chat, or comms, that the FDR is really low if you want to try to pick up that kill. But unfortunately, we do not get the kill there. The other funny thing that's about to happen here is, I think it's actually with the Edgar player. I was deciding, do I want to keep pushing up, or should I actually get more base XP and picking up the cap? But while our Edgar player was typing in chat, kind of amused at the situation that he actually lived, he's ended up being killed by the Cerberus torpedoes. So it's kind of ironic, but it wasn't, I think, a whole lot he could do in the midst of that moment, and spotting it too late. And that's kind of what happens when you're typing when you're still in combat, right? You gotta try to be as quick as possible. So what we're going to do here with our friendly submarine player, as he's going out before us, we're going to go ahead and pick up the cap, as our Yamato player also comes around, and then we're going to do a push up through essentially the enemy spawn. I'm going to push up towards C, more on the right side, and being able to try to see if we can take some pressure off of our team, That's up on the north center of the map, as they're doing a pretty good job. They're not being overly aggressive. They're letting enemy team have the cap while we take the time to be able to swing through this end. One of the big things that's a big issue in this map, also on a few other maps as well, is that you can see a lot of ships get bogged down between these two southern caps, and they don't end up moving. And if you have the advantage, you need to push to be able to swing through and try to help your team, because often it's that top cap that ends up kind of being a deciding factor in the game if you are not able to swing around and help your team. Because right now you can see we clearly have map control, even though we don't have as many ships up on the 7, 8, 9 line yet. As we move into their spawn now, we'll be able to exert more map control and get some crossfires off as well. So that's essentially what we're going for. We also have our hydroacoustic search because there is another enemy submarine, and but he looks like he's up to the far north. But we also have a destroyer player down here to the south. So for now, we're not going to sail straight lines. We want to be sailing kind of sporadically around and changing our course using our A and D keys. So now that we've come into range of the Bourgogne, we're going to see if we can't help our team polish him off, as the enemy Cerberus is taking some pot shots at us. The Bourgogne wants to come in here behind the island. We know that well. But because he has that French speed, it's going to be a little tricky for us to navigate to see if we can land an HE airstrike accurately or not. But he is taking a lot of damage. So he actually ends up dying before getting even close to our airstrike there. And we see the enemy Minotaur is actually quite low here. So there's a choice for us to switch to the armor piercing here. So we are going to go ahead and do that. I'm a little concerned about the enemy destroyer player still, as kind of sitting out here in the open is not ideal for us, because, you know, Cerberus has torpedoes, Minotaur has 10-kilometer torpedoes. I think it was an enemy Shimakaze. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think we end up seeing him here in just a minute. Yeah, as enemy Shimakaze. So since he's moved behind the island, then I kind of understand the safest place for me to go now would be to the left in case he's fired more torpedoes at me. But I'm also able to screen here for both the Yamato and the submarine player as well. So that's another benefit of me being out front. You know, naturally the submarine should probably be a little further up along, but it is where it is. As our team is communicating that we don't know where that last submarine player is on the enemy team. And I communicate to my teammates here behind me that, hey, my hydroacoustic search is down, as I don't want them unnecessarily relying on me. I consider swinging my guns to the Shimakaze, but I see he's turning up and away. And I'm curious to see if the Minotaur player is actually going to be caught here, perhaps bow on, facing into me, but alas, he's not. I'm also concerned now about Minotaur torpedoes, so I recognize it's probably best that I turn bow in to present a smaller profile as we continue to push up and exert some force here. Our Yamato player here is going to do the right thing. He's actually going to go wide. So he's going to prevent the Minotaur player from continuing to, quote-unquote, abuse using this island and keeping it between us. So that's the best decision for a battleship player, is to go wide and help creating a crossfire here. Also seeing how the Minotaur has consistently, he sailed in showing us his starboard side, and then he just showed us the port side, and he's turned away. I'm expecting there's more torpedoes to come through the center of the channel here. Not only from him, but also possibly from the Cerberus and that enemy Shimakaze. So we have the map control, we have the points control. There's no need for us to push up further beyond this point. It's basically just kind of a stopgap in preventing the enemy team from kind of boxing them in, essentially. And you can see the Minotaur player, he's wise enough to know, I think he's actually Radar Minotaur, that the closer he is to the island, the better off he is. He doesn't just want to be far out away from any coverage, as the Yamato player does pick him up, which is great, and this ends up giving us the victory. So it was at this point that no actually had the unsinkable achievement until going into post-battle results, because you have to survive the battle, the second part of obtaining this achievement. And so I was like, oh, fantastic, this is great. So I was pretty pumped about this, and immediately it was like, oh yeah, I'm putting this up to YouTube. So we're gonna get 81,000 damage with not too many target hits. But we did do a lot of damage to the CV and taking out 39 of his planes with just a 1 kill and 6 sudden fires with the aid of his expert and unsinkable. In placing 4th in our team, even though we didn't have a lot of damage, the planes feed a lot of your base XP, so being 1800 base XP overall. And then we're going to go ahead and go into the detailed report, and you can see that we took 65,000 damage, say almost 66,000 damage, all said and done, and eating up through all of our repair parties. So really nice to have the short cooldown time on the repair parties here on the Golden Lion. At premium account, we weren't taking any expendable bonuses in particular, I don't believe so, here on the Golden Lion. So just 135,000 credits all said and done, because it is quite expensive playing tier 10, but not as expensive as super ships here in the game. So with that being said, hope you liked today's video. I hope maybe if you're thinking if checking out if you have the unsinkable achievement or not, then basically just go into battle, you try to get a flood or two, repair yourself from the floods, and then live at the end of the battle. And so it's not too difficult to do it at the higher tiers, because there just are a lot more torpedoes in general among across all the classes. Ideally, perhaps something as well with having a maybe 40-second cooldown on the repair party, or maybe even like a super heal, like, you know, if you're going to try to do a Salem, Conqueror, Monarch, maybe Ohio, Georgia, Massachusetts, they have the 40-second cooldown times, or you can try to do it like myself. Not that I was purposely trying to get it here in the Golden Mine, that's just how it happened. But then, of course, surviving the end of the battle and picking up the achievement. Maybe even possible to do at the lower tiers as well. It's not as complex down at the low tiers, but you definitely will want something to, likely with a repair party, if you play low tier or the mid tier and trying to pick up the unsinkable achievement. So, hope you liked today's video. If you did, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.